response to that. It was a unanimous decision on behalf of the folks that were in that room on the council, and to recommend to our deacons, or deacons recommended to us for ordination. But I want you to meet him just for a second. I'll ask him to come give his testimony of salvation and a greeting to you this evening, and then we'll proceed with our ordination.
Good evening. I want to say we're having us over to his house. I know if you're in here tonight, it's probably not something you're going to hearing so much. And the food was so wonderful. I told my wife, this is so good. I feel spoiled. Then also Brooks Baptist Church. Thank you, everyone at Hyles Anderson College, everyone that in my life has my family, my parents. From a very young age, I've been in ministry. From before I was born, my parents have been serving God their entire lives. And I'm so thankful for that, because I have an opportunity that a lot of people don't have, to be raised in a Christian home and a pastor's home. And I'm so thankful for that. God has been so amazing. But Hyles Anderson College, staff and faculty, Brooks Baptist Church, thank you for all your investment in our lives. I look back at my life and I say, God, it's not because of me, it's because of you and what you've done in our lives. I sit back and I say, God, I haven't done anything to put me here, Lord. You've done this, and just thank you so much for every single one of you have spent time preparing a lesson for classes and preparing us. I think of Greek class a lot because of how much I enjoyed that so much. Truthfully, it was an amazing experience with Dr. Pins. But said, thank you so much for just your love and what you've invested in my life and my wife's life as well. But when I was 4 years old, about 4 years old, my mom had witnessed to me, and I don't really remember too much of it. I don't remember really anything of it. She tells me that, and I don't really remember that. But when I was 12 years old, at our church, my dad was preaching one night. Unfortunately, I don't remember. I was sitting on the front row, but I don't remember anything about it. But I just remember knowing that I'm not saved, that I'm afraid, afraid of dying and going to hell. And I came to him that night. I remember very much. I was just bawling my eyes out, and he didn't even understand what I was asking at first because I was crying so much. And I just started saying, I don't know if I'm saved. And so he witnessed me that night, and at that time I got assurance of my salvation. And at 14 years old, and it was Gary Cheney had come to our church, the evangelist, and the Lord had called me to preach at that time. Fast forward a couple years in the Bible college. Before going to Bible college, I didn't really have a walk with the Lord. And through a friend on my sophomore year of Bible college, he had asked me to go out and pray with him. And from that time on, the Lord has just developed such a sweet time between he and I think of that friend all the time. Just, if it wouldn't have been for that friend, I don't know where I would be to this day, just from that starting of that walk with the Lord. And then a few years later, I was having a few doubts about my salvation, not knowing, am I really saved? I don't know. It was just the devil who wanted. The junior year of college, we had a Bible come through a meeting at the college. I remember just going out by the buses and back on the trailer, sitting down, and we're looking at the verse, whosoever shall call upon the name of the Lord shall be saved. And looking at that verse and going, Lord, I know. I've called upon you and I know that I'm saved. And from that moment on, I've never doubted it. And I've had the opportunity this last year, a little over a year, 15 months, to serve under my dad as the assistant pastor there at Moiso Baptist Bible Church. And it's been a wonderful opportunity for the bus ministry starting there, and different opportunities of just being able to be just a servant there, and just thankful for an opportunity there. But in March, this last March, the Lord had pressed upon my heart and been making it very clear that he wanted us to pastor. And I remember the night, it was a Wednesday night after church, I was laying in bed, staring up at the ceiling, being in turmoil because the Lord was telling me he wanted us to pastor, and I was telling the Lord, I can't, this is not the time, I'm too young, I'm too scared, I have no idea what to do. And just being in that turmoil, my wife looked over and said, are you okay? And I said, I think the Lord wants us to pastor. She said, well, why don't you just say yes? I said, because I'm scared. And she said, well, it's okay to be scared, just say yes. And I remember just sitting there and just saying, okay, God, whatever you want, whenever you want, I'll do whatever you want. And of course, in my mind, I thought maybe 10 years down the road, maybe that'll happen. That's good timing for me. Maybe in 10 or 20 years, I'll be ready. But the Lord has higher plans than us. And a few weeks later, about a week and a half to 2 weeks later, Pastor McCullough from the Calvary Bible Baptist Church had called me and said that he had been trying to, in the last several years, is following the Lord's leading, and had stepped down from his pastorate to go into full-time missionary work. And that weekend, he had asked me if I could preach his Easter service. And I said, well, unfortunately, now we're having a big day on Easter, and I want to stay at our church and be for that. But then he asked a follow-up question. He said, well, would you be willing, if you felt the Lord has led you to pastor? And of course, a week and a half later, the Lord did make it clear to my heart that's what he wanted. I didn't tell him at that moment because I thought, okay, this is so crazy. To back up, that night that happened, the next day I was getting up for work, and I looked at my wife and I said, it's not like someone's going to call me. I didn't call Colin and tell him the Lord had done this. I didn't tell anybody. It was between her and I and the Lord. And I remember just literally looking at her saying that morning, I'm like, not like someone's going to call us. And a week and a half, 2 weeks later, he called us, and I remember just walking outside, and I was walking by our wood pile out back, and I thought, my eyes just got a little big, and I was like, oh my word, someone just called me. That's an Israel prayer, but also, wow, I did not expect that. And just being, of course, nervous and scared, and like, Lord, I don't know. So I told him, I said, can you give me a little time to pray about it? And I prayed about it for about a month and asked the Lord, Lord, please give me signs that this is what you want me to do. Do something only you can do, Lord. Show me many things. And I kept adding to that list because I said, Lord, I want to make sure. And I had things from coworkers coming up to me at work saying, hey, when are you going to pastor? To many other things. And I finally said, okay, Lord, I know this is what you want for us. And I was able to go to my dad and let him know about that. And from then on, we've been able to go there 2 different times to candidate there. And the second time we'll go back for about a week and just get to spend time with that Jewish family. And they're such a wonderful, loving church. It reminds me of a small Baptist church. Just their heart for missions and their just love for people. So if you could pray for us about that. Our truck and trailer is all loaded up. We'll be leaving tonight to go to Cleveland to see some of the grandparents and then spend the night. And then Tuesday morning, we're going to get up and try to drive the rest of the way. I do ask that you pray for us. Pray for me as I'm young and I don't know what I'm doing yet. But I ask that you'll just pray for us, pray for the church, that God will continue to lead us in the way He wants us to. Pray for us as we have safety, as we travel that way. But then also, I'm going to say something to young people, college students. Don't give up and don't quit. Many times in college, you think you're going to want to, but it's well worth it. I don't know what God has for us in the future, but from what God has already led us to, I'm so excited and humbled at the opportunity as God has allowed us to do, but also excited to see what God has been doing and thankful so much for it. So college students, don't quit, don't give up, just continue to go on, seek the Lord, put Him first in your life. Thank you so much for this.
Yay, Brother Bill!
What a wonderful challenge. And I also want to greet the Calvary Bible Baptist Church. They are watching tonight. Their new pastor and his lovely wife, as they are set apart for the ministry. If I could explain to you real quickly, ordination is not our approval on him so much as our agreement that God has called. When we have an ordination council, we're not trying to trick him. We're just asking questions to confirm in our own heart what God has already done in his. And we're so glad to be a part of this. I don't know everything that happens when someone is ordained. I do know it's important. And usually, as it was in my life, I was 32, and when I became a pastor, I went to my pastor, and he did exactly what was being done tonight. I met with men, and they asked me questions, and then came and knelt around me and prayed over me. And I'm so grateful. And I don't know what so much. We do know that Apostle Paul says when Timothy was ordained, he said, neglect not the gift that was given to thee by the laying on of hands. So we believe there's a gift, supernatural gift, that is given at ordination. My personal opinion, it's the gift to lead. It's the confidence to lead.